My name is Abdul Muiz bin Abdul Wahab. My metric number is 1202372.
My name is Nuraina Innati with Gazali. My metric number is 1202380. As an introduction, we can say that sex education can be defined as information provided about physical development, sex, sexuality, relationship, and the development of skills that help young people to communicate and also to make informed decisions about sex and their sexual health. Sex education implementation is crucial to break the stereotypes about sex education negativity, to give knowledge on how sex education will benefit people apart from increasing the health quality of the public, and help to give exposure about sex education among society at a certain age in Malaysia.
Okay, so inadequate sex education will surely give negative effect to social and causes several problems including health and social problems. Firstly, inadequate sex education will probably cause negative effects to sexual health through sexually transmitted diseases, or people call it as STDs. As an example of STDs are HPV, HIV, syphilis, and herpes, and there are many more, and these STDs will lead to a very suffering death to people. Secondly, inadequate sex education also will result in intended pregnancies, which many teenagers are experiencing this, and it is very worrying people and societies. Lastly, inadequate sex education will lead to becoming the victims of sexual violence. In most cases, people who are assaulted sexually did not realize and did not know that they had been assaulted and harassed sexually, and this may lead to a more serious sexual harassment or assault, such as raping.
The objective of this research is to create awareness among people why the implementation of sex education is very important towards Malaysian, and our specific objective is to break the negative stereotypes on sex education among people, to increase the health quality of the public, and to give exposure about sex education among society. And as for our research question, the first one is how to break the negative stereotypes on sex education among people. How does sex education helps in increasing the quality of public health? When and who does sex education needs to be exposed and taught to? So the first discussion on research question is about how does sex education break the stereotypes among society. So, stereotypes in sex education that people always misunderstood because of the word sex that considered as a dirty word. They see that teaching people about sex education can raise the rape rate, sexual harassment, encourage sex before marriage, and so on. But in reality, sex education teach people on how to avoid and protect themselves from sexual abuse, abortion, unwanted pregnancy, and also baby dumping. I think that Malaysians need to take this issue seriously because it is important for our generation, especially nowadays teens. And I believe that no religion allows this thing to happen. So, talking about religion, we also ever heard that sex education is against religion. We know that this would happen because of cultural upbringing say that sex don't have relation with religion. Well, that is actually not true because we can see in Islam they taught about relationships, marriage, self-purify, and also hygiene. We can also look in Quran. There is a lot of verses that speaking about education in terms of sexual life. For example, like puberty, body development, self-protection from sexual disease, and also marital life. So, I hope that people should know that sex education is wider than what they thought, and also young generation are given chance to acknowledge this lesson.
Sex education increase the quality of the public health through the revelation of knowledge of sexual transmitted disease, or STDs. The revelation of STDs knowledge includes the cause of STDs, the symptoms, the danger, the preventions, and many more. Some people might be scared when they read or heard about how threatening STDs were, and they will likely to avoid all activity that might affect them with STDs. This kind of fast action will probably help people in overcoming and keep themselves away from getting infected by STDs, and which will automatically improve their quality of health. Sex education also comprised of sexual anatomy knowledge, which provides factual informations about anatomy, mainly the sexual reproductive, such as the vagina, vesicle, penis, and many more. These anatomical parts are very sensitive, and if these parts are not well kept, they are very prone to fatal disease such as the STDs. So sexual anatomy knowledge teach how to clean the anatomy the right way, the guide to the personal hygiene, and other health tips. As a result, teenagers and the public will be more likely to develop healthy attitudes and improve their health quality through the sex education knowledge. For the last research question discussions, the exact time to expose teens and people to sexual education is actually during their early teens until they become a real teenagers. This is because this period is when most people are going through their puberty. While hitting their puberty, these young people will start to wonder and curious around what happens to themselves, such as the physical development. They are equipped with raging hormones and they started to try and explore something new. Adolescents are selfish, irritable, and reckless, so we must shape them and taught them the sexual education during their teen age. Additionally, sex education should be taught to the underage people, minors, and also children. This is because the rates of sexual violence towards the underage keep on increasing day by day. Okay, as in 2010, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys is a victim of child sexual assault and abuse. In some cases, it is reported that some of the child not knowing that it was a sexual assault. So, with an early exposure, the underage boys and girls may recognize various or any forms of sexual abuse and can help them avoid from being sexually assaulted and can help them protect themselves if they are sexually assaulted or harassed.
As a conclusion, although sex education have been practiced in Malaysia years ago, there are many people that still don't know about the importance of learning sex education. The acceptance of sex education is quite difficult and uncomfortable to be discussed among community, especially in Malaysia. We can't deny that in some cases, sex education might lead to negative effect if we do not seek advice and guidance from the expert. So, the authority need to provide sufficient knowledge about sex education and make sure it is valid information from trained teacher or expert. Parents also need to cooperate by allowing their children to receive sex education either in school or outside the school. So to conclude our discussion, we hope that Malaysia can emulate other countries in expanding the knowledge of sex education in order to produce more open-minded and optimist generation.